And hello, all you truth seekers out there. This video is a long time coming. I've been putting it off for a long time, but I want to start off with a warning. Yes, the warning is something that I was speaking with a friend of mine about the other day, and the warning is that I don't do subtle. If God wanted somebody subtle, then to share some of these truths and with you, well then maybe he needed to get somebody else. But subtle is just not something that I know how to do. So that's your warning off the bat. So there you go. So some things we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at truth, and we're going to be comparing that true traditions and things that we think, some things that we think we know, some things that we've been taught over our lives, and maybe they're true, maybe they're not. We're actually going to be looking at those things, because if we believe a lie, we'll act upon it as if it is true, and that's just going to lead us down to the road of deceit, and not a good foundation to be building your house upon. So we definitely want to be looking at truth. So the truth will be the very foundation of things that we're looking at, breaking it down as simple as we possibly can. I don't work for the government. It's not my job to complicate things. And if you don't know what that means, then just do your taxes and then come back and we'll keep talking. So I want to keep things as simple as we possibly can. But of course, that warning is I don't do subtle, and we're going to start from the very basics, from the very beginning, breaking things down to its simplest form. And one of the things that we have to do and keep in mind on this channel, which will probably be the hardest thing for people to be able to do, is that we need to learn how to receive correction and exhortation. One of the jobs I have is I am an instructor. And as an instructor, we strive to be perfect at what we do. And then we try to also incorporate and teach our students to be perfect as well. Unfortunately, being perfect is not something that we are, so it's always an elusive task. But the main thing is that we want to be better today than we were yesterday. And tomorrow we want to be better than we were today. So as instructors, we are constantly correcting each other and helping each other out, because we are on our own doing the best we can to be as perfect as we can possibly be. But at the same time, people see things from different perspectives and different angles. And when someone takes the time to evaluate what you're doing, and then they come up to you and they pull you aside and they share something that they've learned, then it helps you to be even the better. Then we really need to be thankful for that person to take the time to actually do that, which helps us to be better at what we do. And that's something that we're always striving for, as we're striving for perfection. So one day I was at work, and it's common for us to pull staff members off the range, or to be even pulled off the range ourselves. And we can get all upset, we can get mad, have a thin skin, so to speak, and say, you know what, you're wrong, and I'm not doing that, or whatever. And a person that has that attitude, that just says, that what I'm doing is not wrong, I'm fine. That's not a person that has an attitude or a heart to learn. And we don't do that as instructors. And whenever we see our students have that same attitude, that student will probably leave with the same knowledge and understanding that they had when they came in with. So we need to have some thick skin to evaluate what things are actually being said and determine what is true, what is not, and also what is So as we look at things determine of truth, we need to basically eat the meat, spit out the bones, and receive any instructions that may be applicable to us, or maybe it's something that's not applicable to you right now, but very well might be applicable in the future. But we're going to try to break this down to the very foundation things as simple as possible. And I guarantee that we're probably going to be going some places and looking at some things that you've never seen before. So I think this is really going to be a wild ride for you. So I mentioned that us as instructors, we're always trying to correct one another and helping each other to be better. So one day I was at work, and one of the instructors that was more senior than I am, he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, I was watching you earlier and I think you're one of us." Now, I thought I was going to be corrected for something that I'd done wrong. I thought I'd actually been doing a pretty good job that day, and I hadn't really majorly messed anything up. And but when this guy pulled me aside, I was kind of excited because I thought I was going to really get some good feedback and being better. But what he had to say was more on a religious standpoint, and that he thought that I was like him and him and his group. So my instant reaction is, well, I'm glad that you've got it figured out, because I don't really have a clue what I am. Because I just try to read the Bible as close as I can, understand it the best that I can, and allow the Spirit to give me wisdom and understanding. So he said that now this is an example of me not being subtle, because this is not subtle, and some of these things may very well be offensive to many people. So he said that they study the scripture from the Greek before it was perverted by the Catholic Church. Now, it's to my understanding that Martin Luther had his thesis and had basically went his own way and separated from the Catholic Church for some differences that he had from them. And true enough, I get that. So when this coworker had said this to me, I'm like, okay, so you study the Greek scriptures before it was perverted from the Catholic Church. I study the Hebrew scriptures before it was perverted by the Greeks. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a foundation of where we're going to be going on this channel. Things that we're going to be looking at is that over thousands of years of scribes writing handwritten scriptures, writing codexes, or even writing the different manuscripts, that we're going to be looking at some of the things in that. And then also, but really not so much translating from the Hebrew into the Greek. It was originally written in Hebrew. Let's look at it in Hebrew, understand what it says from Hebrew and from the context of the culture and the time period, instead of looking at man's lack of a better term, perversions of injecting their thoughts, their feelings into what the scriptures may have said. Because as we look through the different translations of the scriptures, there's so many different ways to actually look at it. But I want to cut past all of that and get past all the versions and all of the translations, and even the Greek is a translation. Get past that, get back to the Hebrew, and actually look at the scriptures from there. Now, I'm going to actually pull out the Hebrew as little as I possibly can. So this isn't going to be a class to actually teach biblical Hebrew, but we will be going back to the Hebrew and actually looking at what was originally said. Because as it was written, every jot and every tittle, that would be an English translation, every jot and every tittle is important. And we cannot take one away, we can't add one, or even remove anything from the scriptures. It is all there for a reason and for a purpose, and we have to understand what that is, which I believe here shortly, and then maybe probably the next lesson or two, you will see what it is that I'm actually talking about when it comes to understanding the Hebrew, and try to have a full understanding of what the Almighty said, what He is still saying to us today, and especially how that carries over into speaking to the end time church, which we are probably in these days. So there's a lot of warnings in Scripture. There's a lot of things that he has said to us through his word. Unfortunately, with some of the translations and some of the teachings and some of the traditions that has been taught over hundreds and thousands of years, we've walked away from what the Scripture actually says. I want to go back to see, what did the Scripture say? What did he really mean? What should we actually be doing, so that on that day he will definitely not be saying, "Depart from me, you worker of iniquity, I never knew you," or "You worker of lawlessness or Torahlessness, I never knew you." So we actually want to look at those things, because that's not anything that any of us wants to hear. So we need to have a good attitude. Don't be complacent with where we are in our thinking or in our religion or theology. We always need to be looking and trying to examine ourselves, where we're at, what we're doing, what we're thinking. We always need always be looking at those things. Always striving for perfection, because we want to be better tomorrow than we were today. And if we can understand God, who he is, what he has created us to be, and what we are actually supposed to be doing, then that gets us closer to him. And that's ultimately should be our goal as believers, is to get as close to him as we possibly can and to continue to grow. So that basically sums everything up. So if I haven't really ticked you off or offended you right now, believe me, give me a chance, I probably will. But if you want to learn more, please click. So we're really going to be diving into some of the scriptures, looking at it and breaking things down as simple as I can. Hopefully maybe some of you guys out there can comment and share on some things that you have learned. We can all study together, learn together. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Please click the like button and subscribe so we can go through this. And the truth is a deep well. Let's keep digging. And one scripture I want to leave you with is Psalms 9:8, that if you rebuke a fool, he will hate you for it. But if you rebuke a wise man, he will be even the wiser, and he will love you for it. So these things are not easy. Believe me, it will be painful. These things are going to be hard, but it's a whole lot better to root these things out now than later. So let's just look at the truth and examine the truth now, so that we're not caught into just man-made religion. Have a good day.